Hey guys, my name's Connor. I go under the artist name Meraki, and I'm from Melbourne, down in Victoria.
So, how do you feel about your set last night?
I just felt like I was in a new stage in my life, and I kind of wanted something that represented me a bit better. At the start, I didn't even have a DJ name. It was just like my name, Connor, because I'm from the country. People said to me like, "Oh, your music sounds like, are you Swiss or like from like European?" And I'm like, "No, I'm Aussie." I feel like I'm kind of getting to the point now where I've kind of found my sound. Yeah, I've had a few releases. I've been working on this EP, like a new sound that I'm kind of going towards, and that's kind of what I've been focusing on now.
Hello, everybody. Brother, good to see you again. Here we meet. Well, first of all, why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Hey guys, my name's Connor. I go under the artist name Meraki, and I'm from Melbourne, down in Victoria.
So, how do you feel about your set last night?
Really good, man. Yeah, it was. I had a really good time. I was playing at 12, so got to play a bit more faster, more intense stuff towards the end. So I know that by the end of it, like it was a bit cold here, but yeah, by the end of it, everyone was kind of warmed up and having a boogie. So I was enjoying it myself.
For sure, that was there were some of the tunes you played were like sort of on those sort of iconic bangers. You know,
Yeah.
they did. The X-Files one that was awesome. Yeah, brought back memories to me. So, can you tell me about your artist name, Meraki? What does it mean? How did you come up with it, or how did it came about?
Yeah, so probably I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. I had an old alias that I went under, and then I kind of just felt like I was in a new stage in my life, and I kind of wanted something that represented me a bit better. And then it actually ended up being through like an Instagram. I was on Instagram, and this word Meraki came up with this like kaleidoscope, like mandala thing, and then it said like Meraki, like to do something with love, like kind of putting your heart into like what you're doing. And I'm like, I love music. That's my passion, and then it kind of just resonated. I'm like, yeah, I love making music and DJing. So yeah, and then it kind of just stuck, and yeah, since then it's been going really well.
So, you said so. Well, how long has it been though?
Well, I've been DJing maybe for 8 years, but yeah, under the Meraki, more like progressive, like melodic psytrance, maybe the last 5-6 years now. But yeah, obviously a lot of it was just the music I was making wasn't really at a standard to be able to test it on the dance floor. But now with the music, I'm being able to like go to the studio, write something, a new idea, and then come to something like here and play it. So it's cool.
So before the you said you were DJing earlier. That before was a different DJ name, or
Yeah. So I went at the start. I didn't even have a DJ name. It was just like my name, Connor, because I'm from the country. I'm from Dubbo, which is like a little country town. So I just play house parties and 18ths and yeah, all those kind of parties and pubs and stuff. But it was never this kind of music back then. It was more R&B, and I wanted to play dance music, but it was more like playing like Cold Chisel and other random Aussie stuff, which I like, but yeah, I always wanted to get the dancey kind of groovy stuff, so I had to kind of follow that around to the cities and stuff and leave my country town. But yeah.
So how it happened that you transitioned into Meraki?
Oh God, it was. I guess that's a long story short. I guess yeah. Just when I left home, I kind of just like started trying to work things out and trying to figure out my place in this whole world. And yeah, I felt like the only thing that really made me feel happy, like not the only thing, but the thing that made me feel most happy, like which I enjoyed most, was when I was DJing. Like it just gave me I just loved the feeling of like playing music to crowds and like DJing and like partying and stuff. So that kind of just took over, and then I'm like, oh, it's kind of like for me, like music's like a way of life. Like I tried like my life is about like like I just love like rhythm and melody, and just like if I'm going through a hard time, the music's there just to like help me like express it and like let it go, because it's like therapeutic but also just like fun as well.
So, what kind of music do you like to play?
Well, it's always changing my style. I think, like as any artist, but for me, I love like progress. I mean, like I remember a few interviews we were talking about this progressive thing, but yeah, for me, like something that's constantly progressing, but also melodically. I love like a melody that's always like building on itself and stuff like that. But I also love like the deep bass lines and stuff like that. So a combination of like a few psychedelic sounds and stuff, but then like artists like Liquid Soul. I love Liquid Soul, and then artists like Morton Grinnell and like Fax and kind of Metronome, and then mixing them kind of in to like be able to like have a bit more pumping, but also have the nice melody for the breakdown to people to like feel whatever state they're in, to kind of have that experience and get into that state of trance.
Nice. Well, I've seen you play twice. It seems that crowd is definitely enjoying those tunes.
Yeah, cheers, man.
So when you play your sets, usually are there like is there like a particular country sound that you'd associate to? Like, is it like or label maybe? Like, do you play Australian sort of more tunes, or like how?
I think there's a combination, because I've had a few people say like, well, for me, I love like my artists that I love, they're from Copenhagen and Denmark. So I think I've been really inspired because I've listened to so much music from over in that part of town, the world, that like Denmark and Switzerland. Like a lot of people have said to me like, oh, your music sounds like, are you Swiss or like from like European? And I'm like, no, I'm Aussie. And then they're like, oh, it sounds like that. But then also like I do have like some indigenous heritage, so I like to include like indigenous sounds and like the Aboriginal culture of the didgeridoo and like animal sounds and like just nature, and combine those two to kind of like create a unique blend of Aussie, European, and then I also love I love it all, like Israeli stuff. I love that. It's a combination of those kind of things.
Cool, man. And in terms of like, so you have been producing. How long have you been doing that?
So I'm 26, almost 27 now, and I started when I was 18. So about 8 years now. It definitely hasn't come naturally to me, the producing side of things. Like the DJing felt very easy to pick up, but the producing for me, it was a bit of a mission, and it took me a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff. But I feel like I'm kind of getting to the point now where I've kind of found my sound in like producing a type of a signature kind of sound that I'm trying to make and progress with. So
progression is important.
It is. It's all we're always progressing. It's the circle of life.
I'm quoting Foul Owl. From
he's a good
Foul Owl. That's pronunciation. He's gonna hate me for that pronunciation. But anyway, shout out to him.
Shout out to Foul Owl. That man, he's a Bunda brother.
In terms of producing, so have you actually like released on any labels already, or?
I've had a few releases, and a lot of free downloads as well. Like my latest release, since then I've had some free downloads, but my last release was on Up Records, an Australian label. Shout out to Angus Smith, who runs the label in Brizzy, and he put me on for one of my tracks, No Control, and it actually went number 1 on Beatport 6 months ago. So that was a massive milestone. I wasn't expecting that, and I was really stoked to like see it on the charts. Like it was like, I'm like, oh wow, this is massive, and got some great feedback from it. So it was cool.
Oh, awesome! And so there are presumably many more tracks in the pipeline currently for that.
There's a few new ideas. I've recently moved house, so it's kind of been a bit of a transitional period, but like I'm in a new studio now, so that's also been like fun as well. But I've got like 3 collaborations that are done. They just need a final mix and master, but I got with like 3 friends in Melbourne. I got like Foul Owl, we have a track together, Perfect Motion, which is more, we're like into the more melodic stuff, and then my other friend Dylan Phenomenal, who is on another level with his production, and we got a track together. So those 3, they're pretty much ready to go. We're just looking for a label or seeing what to do with them. And I'm also like working on this new EP, which I haven't really even chatted about, like talked to my mates about, but I've been working on this EP, like a new sound that I'm kind of going towards, and that's kind of what I've been focusing on now. And I'm actually making a really good start on that so far.
So when do you think roughly it might be finished and available for everyone to enjoy?
Good question. I don't want to rush or anything, like just kind of flow with it, because I feel like when I do have when I put myself in time restraints with like music, you know, the creative process, you don't want to rush it, because sometimes I don't want to force it and get like maybe not the best result. But I would say, like, I think in the next couple months, all those tracks will be finished, and then it's just a matter of trying to find a label to be open to the EP, and then doing a bit of the promo stuff, and it takes a little time. But I reckon in the next maybe 5 months, 4 or 5 months, there'll be an EP, or even hopefully even less. We'll see. It's actually coming out so fast that I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna roll with it. So. Yeah.
How many tracks do you think will be on that EP, or have you decided already?
I've got three or four. I'm thinking, and they're all kind of different. They've all got a bit of a different story to tell, but it's got this kind of new sound that I feel like in my mind, like at the moment when I'm DJing or like trying to find new tracks, I'm like almost like there's this sound I can hear in my mind that I'm trying to like play, but I can't find tracks on Beatport or SoundCloud. So I'm like, maybe that's just like me right now, like at a point where I'm like, oh, why don't I just like that sound I can hear? Why don't I just try and like my best to make that? And that's like, maybe there's a gap for my music to be that. So that's what it's kind of like going to be based on. And yeah, just like a massive kind of concept, a bit of a journey with those tracks.
Well, that's awesome, man. That sounds well. Hopefully, we can hear a Meraki signature sound, or we can recognize it.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, you'll hear lots of like for me, like the Whipbird, like the Australian Whipbird. I love using the samples of that. Like I've gone out like with my recorders and stuff and like recorded all these like nature sounds, and I got like a Whipbird, so I love using that because it's so psytrancey. When I hear like this bird making like a psychedelic effect, I'm like, that's crazy that nature can produce that. So I want to like use that in my sounds, and no royalties to the Whipbird, but I definitely want to use that in my tracks.
So how things have been recently, and sort of are looking in the future a little bit, in the foreseeable future, in terms of your bookings and playing at like festivals and clubs and stuff. Like how is that?
It's been going well, man. Like I'm in Melbourne now. I've been there for about 2.5 years now, and part of this crew, like the progression sessions, and I get bookings at my favourite nightclub called My Aeon in Melbourne. I love that place. It's got Function One speakers and hectic visuals, and everyone's so friendly. So I've been playing there once a month kind of thing. And then just on the smaller bush dwarf circuit, like playing up in New South Wales like we are now, and then around Victoria. Nothing so big, but definitely have dreams. I got, like every producer, dreams to play at those big doofs, and that's kind of where I'm trying to I'm trying to reach that goal with that.
Well, all the best with that. So you already mentioned a couple of producers that you sort of play and that you like, but what are your what are your favorite sort of producers that you like, tunes at the current ones?
Okay, well, actually in Australia I have two favorite producers, and one is Unseen Dimensions, who's more like the progressive kind of offbeat, very chunky stuff, and then Zen Mechanics, who is he's like an Aussie producer. I think he's on the coast or something, but he's just like, his sound is so clean and professional, and like the production, when I hear it, I'm like, this song is just unreal. I didn't even know he was from Australia until recently, because I thought he was just like some big European DJ. But those two artists, they're like super inspiring, and their music is always just top tier. That sounds like just so polished, and I'd love to be able to like one day maybe that would be the dream, to collaborate with one of them or work on a remix or something. But I love their sound, and I want to infuse those two as well with that.
So do you use like mainly so for your digital audio workstation, what sort of software do you use?
So I use Ableton. I'm on Mac and using Ableton, and I'm pretty much at the point now where, like, obviously I'm making a lot of the sounds in the software, but my biggest kind of my baby that I use is like I've got a Moog Sub 37, and that thing is like, I've had it for like 4 years, and it's only been like in the last little while I've just started, like, because there's so many knobs, and I'm like, it's like a spaceship. I don't even know what I'm doing here. But I'm kind of getting to a point now where I can like feel like, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm trying to, like, the sound I can, like, I'm thinking of, I can kind of tweak it. And like when you're doing it, like, instead of like clicking with a mouse, but if you're actually controlling it with your hands, and it's very like physical, like it feels like more intuitive like that. So I've been using that in all my songs, all the leads, the melody, just effects. I'll be like programming it on the synth and then recording it straight into Ableton and using that. So yeah, that's been like my biggest probably part of the production now is the synth.
Are you sort of planning to get any more sort of hardware that they're new toys?
Oh, of course. There's always so many. Like I like to see like some of like those big producers, and I'm like, wow, look at this. That's crazy. That's the dream.
What's the next one?
Well, the next one, I think I'm happy with this synth, but I want to get this plugin called, I think it's called Damage 2, and it's like a Contact VST, and what they've done, they've recorded these massive tribal orchestral drum sounds, and they've just made it into like a VST where you can play it and you can like play different notes and different velocities. And I think because I like the tribal sound, I think if I bought this plugin, it would just like, I want to make my music sound really cinematic and like just like you're out in the bloody jungle, listen to these tribal drums and I'm going crazy to the music. I want to like incorporate that big sound, like, so that's my next thing. Like, yeah, big Damage 2 and just get the big drums and just program them in so my track just can just have that big sound in the drops.
Well, that's awesome that you know at that stage that you just can sort of do it. Yeah. You know. So what you said, nearly 8 years it sort of takes. That's what it takes.
I think with music and art, time is irrelevant. Like we're all on our own scale, and like, you know, some artists it takes a couple of years, but some it's very quick. Like they're very natural at it. But like for me, I guess I've still got a long way to go. But I think I'm starting to hit my stride, and really a lot of opportunities are coming up. And it's been a slow journey. Like there's always been little things coming, but just as of recently, that's when things have started ramping up, and more things and more connections with other artists and events and festivals like this are coming up.
So what's the music scene in Melbourne is like?
It's awesome. Well, that's why I'm in Melbourne. Originally I was living out in the country, and I was in Wollongong, and then I just had to follow the Cytrons, and where there was places that could play it every weekend. So Melbourne was just like a no-brainer. Like I love Melbourne, and obviously it's been a bit of a rough time to be in Melbourne with everything going on, but now it's coming back to life, and I feel like in Melbourne they just want to hear, like they're actually wanting to hear new unreleased ideas. That they're not as fast on the big tracks. They just want to hear what you're working on, and like maybe it's not professional, but they want to hear like what you've been working on and like new stuff, and maybe there's always room for improvement, but they want to hear that exclusive, like your own sound. So it's a good place to test out your own music and play it.
Also a question about you. So are you currently signed on any labels as a DJ, as a label DJ, or as an artist, as a producer?
No, I'm not signed to any labels. I'm definitely looking to be. Like that's another goal of mine is to get signed to a booking, like, you know, a label in a lot of European kind of, where it's the more progressive stuff. But yeah, at the moment, nothing, not signed to anything. I am part of the Prog Sesh collective. It's like a family down in Melbourne of artists, but that's not so much releasing music. It's more of like the events and stuff like that. But in terms of the production, I'm looking for something to see if there's any opportunities out there. So hopefully something comes along. That would be hectic.
Oh, can you tell me? I have this question. These events, a series of events that I'm not very familiar with, and maybe some of the viewers are also not very familiar with. They're called Techno versus Cytrons. Can you tell me what they're about and how? What's the goal there?
Oh yeah, so that's a brand progression sessions run at my Aeon, the club there. Once, I'd say maybe every few months or a couple of months, and it's a really cool concept. So, you know, there's a massive scene there for techno and Cytrons, and kind of branding it so both parties get to have a bit of a feel for it. So normally when the club's normal with all the no restrictions, there's 2 dance floors. They both have Function 1 rigs, which is incredible. I love that sound. But upstairs they'll have all the techno artists playing, and they'll all it's techno versus Cytrons, but then all the sets are back to back, so every artist plays versus someone. So all back to back upstairs techno, all back to back Cytrons, and then you're all playing with a different artist every time, which keeps it fun, and a bit nervous because I'm pretty comfortable playing on my own, but with someone else I'm like, I've got to make sure like our sounds work together and gel, and we can like vibe with each other. So that's on every couple of months. I'm playing.
So it's back to back sets, or like
back to back. So you play an hour and a half, and it's up to each DJ how you want to do it. Like some you go 1 for 1 or 2 for 2, or some people like to play half a set and then the other half. But I like going like one for one, like then it keeps you like on the same journey, I think, and you kind of like have that synergy with each other. And like some friends, you have that, and they play a track, and then you hear like, as soon as they play a track, it's like, oh, it reminds me of this track. I'll play that track, and then you just kind of like, and then the dance floor is like feeding off you guys, and it's very fun. Yeah. So there's one next weekend that I'm playing at Techno vs Cytrons at my Aeon, and that will be back to back with Phenomenal, which he's someone that's like, he's definitely like, he's killing it in the scene, and we're playing I think around 12 or 1 o'clock next Saturday night.
Awesome. By the way, the last night the stage looked incredible. Like all of the DJs that were on it, they like, for me it looked like a spaceship basically.
It was actually insane, the quality of like the stages. I walked up I saw the front, and like I had all these projections on the stage, and it was like vibrating and everything was changing. It was actually it was blowing my mind. It was like so much to take in, and then like you go behind it and you kind of forget that that's all out there, and you play your set, you're in the zone, and then after you look out there and you go to the front, you're like, oh wow, I was actually in front of this big temple of like this psychedelic bloody. It was intense. I loved it.
yeah, very very cool stage. So shout out to those who put it all together. It's
he's definitely got he knows what he's doing here.
Well, man, I'm glad that we were able to catch up here and sit down and have a chat. Well, it seems like there are a lot of interesting, cool stuff ahead of you with all the productions, and I'm sure it'll pick up very soon. Anything you'd like to sort of comment on or say in general?
I guess I'd like to thank you for having me on board. I've been like following you. You've been doing a lot of podcasts and like interesting kind of videos and stuff. And I'm so interested in the scene and this, like these little bush doofs and stuff. And it's interesting getting people's different perspectives. So thanks for giving me a space to share what's been going on. And it's all, even having the chat kind of makes me more inspired to go back to the studio and like just keep feeding off that. So thanks for having me. And I guess, if anyone wants to like follow me on Instagram, Meraki _ music, and then Meraki Oz on SoundCloud. You can stay up to date with all my latest releases and whatever I'm doing. If it's in the studio or at events and parties or my own random stuff in my personal life, you can stay up to date.
Yeah, okay, and in the description of this video, all the links will be there. So, thanks very much, bro. Good to see you, and thanks for everything
too, brother.
and for the set. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.